When people get into rental property, they want to know how to get tenants to pay rent. Because the truth of the matter is, the only way we make money is if tenants are paying their rent consistently. And until you know that, you're really going to have a hard time making those babies successful. So let's get started. Hey there, my name is Mike Fritz. I'm the founder of Titanium Capital Investments and the founder of the Multifamily CEO System. My greatest passion is helping people just like you create financial freedom with multifamily real estate. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 ways to create a tenants pay on time culture. And stick around to the end because I'm going to give you a tip at the end that'll make it so you never have to worry about people paying rent by doing something on the front end. Stick around. The very first way to make sure tenants pay rent consistently is to have very clearly outlined payment instructions. Make sure your tenants know all the different ways you accept payment and all the different ways they can leverage those. Because the last thing you want to do is have a tenant not pay because they don't know where to send it, or they lost the address, or they don't know who to send it to, or who to make the check out to. That doesn't necessarily not have the money, they just don't know where to send it or don't know how to pay to make sure that you get your rent. And you want to create as few barriers as possible in between you and the money your tenant is sending to you. So you want to give very clear instructions of how to pay, where to pay, and when to pay, so tenants don't really have questions on what that process looks like. The second thing you can do to make sure tenants pay rent is to make payments convenient. Give tenants multiple ways to actually pay you. They can pay you in cash, and they can even bring that cash specifically to your property manager. They can write you a check and mail it. But I would also set up a few other forms so they can pay you from the comfort of their own home. You can even set up ACH so they could wire a payment to you and pay rent straight out of their bank account, straight to your property manager or to you as the owner. You can also set up app payment structures like Venmo or Apple Pay in order to pay you again from the comfort of their home quickly and easily without them having to buy stamps, without them having to mail it, and without them having to drive it to your location. What we're trying to do is create as few barriers between the tenant and us as possible. The reason we want multiple payment options is, let's say a tenant usually mails their rent, but all of a sudden, on the day it has to be mailed, they realize they're out of stamps and their spouse has the car. Again, it's just another barrier between them and getting their rent to you. We want to make sure we can make that a very fast, streamlined process straight from their bank account to yours so they can make payments, they can continue to stay in good standing with you, and we can continue to collect money month after month after month without hassle. I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't give you this third tip in saying make sure you vet your tenants heavily on the front end. Have a process that makes sure you don't let bad tenants through the cracks. Now, can a bad tenant jump through all your hoops and actually be a bad tenant? For sure. But by having all those checks and balances on the front end, you really make it hard for a tenant to get through all those, and it gives you the ability to vet your tenants clearly and very carefully and make sure you have a great tenant in your property. Just a couple things to make sure you're doing on the front end. Make sure you have income checks and background checks. Income checks, just make sure you verify the income they state on their application. That can be done through check stubs or through calls to their employer, but make sure you're vetting that income to make sure they're not stating a higher income than they actually receive. I like to make sure that the rent is at 25% more than their net monthly income. Because I know if it's 25% of their income, they still have enough money to cover the rest of the bills of living expenses that they need throughout the month. The other thing is just background checks. Make sure your property manager or you are running background checks in order to make sure there's not something in their past that would make them an undesirable tenant for you in the future. Before I go on to the next tip, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification, and also smash that thumbs up button. We want to make sure that you get all the access to all of our videos on our channel. If you have a question, throw in the comments. I love to hear from people just like you. Let's get back to the content. The fourth way to make sure tenants pay rent is to have steep late fees. Steep late fees create a natural incentive for not making sure that you're a priority in their monthly planning. The truth is, tenants get busy. Sometimes they forget to pay, sometimes they forget to mail it, sometimes they forget just even that rent is due. The truth of the matter is, what having a late fee does is it makes sure that you stay in their calendar. Late fees remind them to make sure they're sending us their rent checks each month. But it's not just about having late fees, it's about having late fees that create incentives. Because if you have a $5 a day late fee, that's not a very big incentive to make sure it's paid on time. But if you have a $50 a day late fee, now that's some incentive to make sure that I don't go too far past the date of rent so that I can make sure that I don't pay all those late fees. But one of the big keys of late fees is make sure you enforce it. If you have late fees and you don't enforce it, there's no point. You essentially don't have late fees. So if you have a late fee of $50 a day and somebody's 1 day late, you make sure you charge them that $50. You only have to do that once or twice, and people realize you're serious and you're going to have to charge them late fees. And when they are late, they are actually going to have to pay this. The fifth way to make sure tenants pay on time is to take great care of your tenants. Tenants are one of the most valuable people in our business, if not the most valuable person in our business. So we want to make sure we take excellent care of them as tenants. If they call with a needed repair in their property, we're going to get out there ASAP to get that fixed immediately. If they ask for some assistance or ask for some help filling something out because they can't pay rent, we're going to come in and help them fill that out immediately because we're going to take care of them as much as possible. Tenants are gold and we want to love on them and care for them. Robert Cialdini in his book Influence talked about the law of reciprocity. The idea is if somebody does something for you, you kind of feel like you should do something back for them. Somebody gives you a Christmas gift, you're kind of like, man, I didn't get you anything. There's almost like some feeling there like if you've done something for me, I need to do something for you. And the idea of taking care of your tenants is the law of reciprocity. We're going to do as much as we can for our tenants so they have that internal law of reciprocity that I'm going to pay my rent on time because they take such good care of me. One of the bonus tips that I tell everybody, if you want people to pay rent on time, you got to have a vetting process on the front end that makes sure they don't fit through the cracks. Let me tell you something. When your property manager meets with tenants, look at the kind of cars they drive. Every time they give you where they work, make sure you call their employer. Make sure you always do a background check. Make sure you interview them physically, live, not just over the phone, so you can see how they dress, see how they walk, see how they carry themselves, see how they communicate. The truth of the matter is, all of these things play into, will they really be a good tenant? If they don't get back to you and aren't clear in communication throughout the application process, they probably aren't going to be good at communication as they live in your unit. It's the old statement, if the honeymoon phase isn't great, then the marriage isn't going to be great. It's the same with your tenant. If the application process isn't smooth and they don't do what they need to do in order to get that unit, probably not going to be a great tenant. So on that front end is the greatest line of defense against having tenants that don't pay rent. Make sure you have a strict front end process and you're going to see that you'll have better tenants time after time after time. I want to give you a free gift for tuning in today. I want to give you access to our free multifamily masterclass. If you click the link below, you'll be taken to our free 60-minute training that walks you through the 5 things you can do to get a piece of multifamily real estate in under 71 days. This is the exact process all of our students use and are using to buy properties very quickly and easily, not even using any of their own money. So make sure you click that link and come on in, and I'd love to see you in the training.